The air was heavy with dust and silence, broken only by the crunch of boots on broken stone. A lone human traveler walked slowly through the ruins of an alien colony, his eyes scanning the shattered walls and the burned-out homes. He had come, searching for supplies, but instead, he found a graveyard of a once living place. No laughter, no voices, only emptiness. He paused near a collapsed archway, the twisted metal casting long shadows under the dim sun. For a moment, he thought the entire colony was dead. But then, faintly he heard a sound. It was not the sound of wind, nor the creak of ruins. It was a soft, broken cry, weak and trembling. His heart quickened, and he followed the sound, step by step. He moved deeper into the ruins, past fallen statues and burned carts. The cries grew louder, mixed with whispers in a language that carried pain and desperation. Finally, in a corner of the rubble, he saw her. An alien woman was kneeling on the ground, her body thin, her skin pale with exhaustion. In her trembling arms lay a small child. Weak and silent, eyes half closed, the woman looked up when she saw the human, fear and hope fighting in her gaze. Her lips moved, and in broken common tongue she whispered, "Human. Please, help. My milk has dried up. My baby hasn't eaten for days." The words struck him harder than the ruins around. He stepped closer, but the woman held the child tighter, as if afraid he might take the little one away. Her arms shook, but her eyes stayed locked on his, begging without shame. The child made a small sound, a whimper so soft it felt like the last breath of life. The human knelt slowly, his voice gentle. "What happened here? Where is everyone?" Tears glistened on the alien mother's cheeks. "Gone, all gone. They came with fire, destroyed everything, took the strong, left us to die." Her voice broke, her shoulders trembling as she looked down at her baby. I tried to feed her, but my body has nothing left." The human looked at the baby, the fragile chest rising and falling with great effort. The child's eyes barely opened, cloudy with hunger and weakness. The mother pressed her face into the child's head, whispering words of comfort, but it was clear without help. The baby would not live much longer. The traveler's hand tightened around his bag. He thought of the emergency rations he carried, but he knew alien children might not survive on human food. Still, to do nothing was worse than trying. He reached into his pack and pulled out a small container of nutrient gel. The alien mother watched with desperate eyes, torn between fear and hope. "Please, anything, even if it hurts me, just try," she begged, her voice shaking. He opened the container, dipping his finger into the gel. Gently, he touched the child's lips with the soft paste. The baby stirred weakly, mouth opening just a little. A small drop slipped inside, and for a moment, the baby swallowed. The mother gasped, clutching the child closer, her eyes shining with sudden light. "See, she can eat." But the moment of hope shattered quickly. The baby coughed, body trembling, and her cry was sharp but faint. The human pulled back, his chest tight. "It's not enough. She needs more than this." The woman bowed her head low, almost to the dirt. "Then save her. Save my child. Take me, take my life, but not hers." Her voice echoed through the ruins like a broken prayer. The human stood frozen, the weight of her words pressing on him. The cries of the child cut deeper than the silence. Every second felt like a blade time was running out. The ruins around them seemed to close in, shadows growing longer. The human realized this was not just an encounter, it was a choice, one that could change everything. He looked at the alien mother again, her face pale, her lips cracked, yet her eyes still burned with fierce love. The baby lay limp against her chest, but the tiny fingers twitched, clinging to the fabric of her mother's worn cloak. The human knew then, he could not walk away. He had stumbled into a desperate plea. And from this moment, nothing would ever be the same. The human crouched low, his eyes fixed on the fragile form of the alien baby. The child's skin shimmered faintly under the pale light, thin and almost translucent. Every rib was visible, every breath was a fight. The small hands twitched weakly, grasping at nothing. As though searching for food in the air, the mother rocked gently, whispering in her own language, a song broken by tears. Her arms shook from weakness, but she would not let go. Her voice trembled as she looked at the human again. Please, if you know a way, if you have anything. She cannot last another night. The human opened his pack, pulling out more of the nutrient gel. He tried to think fast, his mind racing. On distant colonies, humans had traded with aliens before. But every species had its own needs. What fed one could poison another. He felt sweat on his brow as he studied the baby's eyes, cloudy and unfocused, her lips parted, but no strength remained to cry. He scooped another small amount and touched it gently to the child's mouth. For a moment, the tongue moved, swallowing weakly. The mother gasped, clutching hope tightly in her chest. But soon the child coughed again, the thin body arching, as if in pain. The human quickly pulled back, fear spreading through him. If he gave more, he might kill her. If he gave nothing, she would fade away. The mother rocked back and forth, whispering, "My milk is gone. My body has failed her. I prayed to the stars, but no one came. Only you, only human." Her eyes glistened with desperation, filled with both love and shame. Her arms pressed the baby closer, as if her heartbeat alone could give strength. The human knelt, setting aside his pack. He placed a hand gently on the child's chest, feeling the faint rise and fall. It was too slow, too shallow. Every instinct told him time was short. "I cannot give her human food," he murmured. "But maybe something else." He searched his memory of training, of old field manuals about survival. There were nutrient packs stored in his ship, sealed and pure, designed for wounded soldiers of many species. But the ship was far, past broken streets and fallen towers. Could the baby wait that long? The mother's eyes followed his every movement. Her voice broke the silence. "You are human. Why do you care? My people called yours enemies once." The human looked at her, his face hard, his voice low. "I see a mother. I see a child. That is enough." The alien mother's lips trembled, as if she had forgotten what kindness was. For a long moment, she said nothing, then bowed her head. "You are not like the ones who burned our homes." The baby stirred weakly, her eyes opening for just a breath. She made a faint sound, not a cry, but a whimper so soft it broke the air like glass. The mother pressed her forehead to the child's, whispering in broken words. "She was born when the fires came. She never tasted life, only hunger." The human clenched his fists, his resolve hardening. He would not watch this child fade into silence. But danger lurked beyond hunger. He felt the ruins shifting, the echo of distant growls. Predators roamed. Where people no longer lived, the sound of a stone falling carried far, and the mother's head snapped up in fear. "Not safe here," she whispered, clutching the child tighter. "They hunt. They smell weakness. If they find us..." The human scanned the shadows, his hand moving to the weapon at his side. He saw only broken stone and shifting dust, but he knew she was right. Every ruined city had scavengers, not all of them animals. Time pressed harder now, both survival and hunger demanded action. He met the mother's eyes, steady and firm. "We cannot stay. My ship has what she needs, but it is far. You must trust me." The mother hesitated, fear tightening her grip. "Your food may harm her, but death will take her if we wait. I will trust." Slowly, she rose on trembling legs, the baby held close to her chest. The human adjusted his pack, stepping forward to lead the way. Every sound of their footsteps felt too loud, every shadow too deep. The mother walked behind him, whispering soft words into the baby's ears. Her lullaby was cracked and weak, but her love made it strong. The ruins stretched ahead, dangerous and uncertain. The baby's breaths grew shallower. With each passing moment, The human's mind burned with urgency, counting the distance to the ship. Every second mattered. Every step carried the weight of life or death. And yet, deep inside, he felt something new rising. It was not duty, not mission, but something more. The sight of the alien mother's tears, the sound of her child's faint whimper stirred. A part of him he thought long dead, compassion, fierce and unstoppable. He swore silently, gripping his weapon tighter. No matter what waited in the shadows, no matter how far the ship, he would not let this child die hungry, not while he still drew breath. The ruins stretched like a maze around them, broken walls and shattered towers casting long shadows. The human led the way, his eyes sharp, scanning every corner. Behind him, the alien mother followed closely, clutching her weak baby to her chest. Every breath from the child was shallow, every sound fragile, as if life itself was slipping away. The human's mind raced. He knew his ship carried medical supplies and experimental nutrient packs, small pouches designed to feed wounded soldiers of different species. But those packs were risky, untested on many alien children. If the wrong chemical entered the baby's body, it could cause more harm than hunger. Still, he had no choice. Waiting meant death. He turned his head slightly, his voice low. "My ship is not far. There are things that might save her, but it is dangerous. You must decide. Do you trust me?" The mother's steps faltered her, arms tightening around the child. Her voice trembled. "If there is even a chance, I must take it. My baby must live." The human nodded, his resolve hardening. They moved faster through the ruins, their footsteps echoing softly against the empty stone. Every broken alley seemed alive with whispers, the sound of predators hunting in the shadows. But he kept moving, guided by the thought of the small life fading in her arms. When they reached a narrow passage, the human stopped, raising his hand. The mother froze, her breath catching. From the dark corridor came a low growl. Rough and hungry, eyes gleamed faintly in the black. Watching them, the human pulled out his weapon, a compact pulse rifle, and signaled for the mother to stay back. The growl grew louder, footsteps scraping against stone. Then, with a sudden lunge, a creature leapt into the light, its body thin but fast, its mouth lined with jagged teeth. The human fired once, the blast lighting up the ruins. The beast collapsed with a hiss, dust rising around its twitching body. The mother gasped, holding her child closer, whispering thanks under her breath. The human glanced back at her, his expression stern. "This place is no longer safe. We must move quickly." She nodded, her face pale but determined. Together, they slipped past the fallen predator and continued deeper into the ruins. After a long and tense walk, the outline of the ship finally appeared, half hidden behind broken towers and metal wreckage. Relief washed over the human's face, but the mother stumbled, nearly falling. The baby's tiny whimper had grown weaker, a sound so soft it barely reached his ears. He rushed forward, helping her up, guiding her the last few steps to the ship's entrance. Inside, the dim lights flickered on, revealing narrow corridors lined with supply crates. The mother looked around with wide eyes. Her people had never seen human ships so closely, but her attention quickly returned to her baby, whose breaths were dangerously shallow. The human opened a storage locker, pulling out a silver pouch filled with pale blue liquid. He stared at it for a long moment, the weight of his choice pressing heavy on his chest. "This is experimental," he said, turning toward her. "It was made for soldiers, not infants. It could help, but it could also hurt." The mother looked at the pouch, then at her baby, her lips trembling. "If we do nothing, she will die. If we try, she may live. Please, give her a chance." The human nodded slowly, his fingers tightening around the pouch. He prepared a small dropper, filling it with only a fraction of the liquid. Kneeling, he brought it close to the baby's lips. The mother held her breath, her arms trembling as she supported the tiny head. Gently, the human released one drop, letting it touch the child's mouth. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the baby's lips moved, swallowing weakly. Her eyes flickered open, cloudy but alive. The mother gasped, her eyes filling with tears. She swallowed. She swallowed it. But the moment was fragile. The baby coughed suddenly, her small body jerking. The mother cried out in fear, pressing the child against her chest. The human's heart pounded. Had he poisoned her? He grabbed a scanner from the wall, running it quickly over the child. The screen flickered with readings. Unstable, confused, but not fatal. Her body was struggling, fighting to accept the foreign nutrients. The mother rocked back and forth, whispering prayers. The human placed a steady hand on her shoulder, his voice firm. Do not give up. She is stronger than she looks. Minutes felt like hours, every second heavy with fear. Then, slowly, the baby's trembling eased. Her breathing grew steadier. Her small hand twitched and curled, fingers brushing against her mother's skin. The alien mother broke into tears, clutching her child tightly. She is still here. She is still alive. The human let out a long breath, relief softening his stern face. But he knew this was only the beginning. One drop had bought them time, but not safety. The child needed more. And they were far from safe. Danger lurked outside the ship, and enemies could return at any moment. Still, as he watched the baby cling faintly to life, he felt a spark of hope. Perhaps the risk had been worth it. Perhaps this fragile child, saved by human hands, would live to see a new dawn. The baby's breathing had steadied, though her body was still weak. The alien mother cradled her close, whispering soft thanks again and again. The human stood by the scanner, his jaw tense, watching the fragile signs of life. The experimental nutrient had worked, at least for now. But the battle was far from over. Outside the ship, the ruins were not silent. Low echoes rolled through the empty streets, strange calls rising and falling like hunting cries. The human stiffened, his hand moving to his weapon. He had heard such sounds before. Predators, drawn to weakness, scavengers of war. The mother's eyes widened, her grip on the child tightening. They are coming, she whispered, fear shaking her voice. The human moved quickly to the door, peering through a narrow slit. In the distance, dark shapes shifted in the dust, crawling and leaping across broken walls. Their bodies were lean, their movements sharp. Too many to count. The predators had caught their scent, and they were closing in. The mother pressed her forehead to the baby's head, tears slipping down her cheeks. If they find us, they will take her. They eat the weak, they smell the young. Her words trembled with terror, but her arms refused to let go. The human stepped back inside, his voice calm but strong. They will not take her. Not while I stand. He rushed to the storage bay, pulling out crates and metal panels. In minutes, he built a barricade at the entrance, sealing the door tight. The mother watched him, half in awe, half in fear. She had never seen such determination from a stranger, let alone from a human. The predator's cries grew louder, circling the ship, scratching against the hull. The sound was sharp, like claws on steel. The baby stirred, whimpering faintly at the noise. The mother hushed her quickly, rocking back and forth. But the scratching did not stop. It grew, many claws, many teeth waiting just outside. The human loaded his rifle, his eyes narrowing. They will test the ship. They will try to get in. The mother swallowed hard, her voice low. They are not only beasts, they are clever. They know how to wait. Hours passed like shadows crawling across the walls. The predators did not leave, their cries echoing through the ruins. Every sound made the mother flinch. Every thud made the baby stir. The human stayed by the barricade, his fingers steady on the trigger. He knew if the creatures broke through, there would be no mercy. Finally, a heavy crash shook the ship. The mother gasped, clutching her child. The human raised his weapon as the metal door dented inward, claws screeching against it. "Stay behind me," he ordered, his voice firm as stone. The door groaned again, bending under the weight. Through the crack, glowing eyes peered inside, hungry and cruel. The first predator forced its way through. A massive beast with bone ridges along its spine. It leapt forward, its maw opening wide. The human fired. The blast lighting the ship's corridor. The creature fell with a shriek, thrashing before going still. But more followed, shadows pressing against the doorway, snarling and clawing. The mother cried out, "There are too many, we cannot hold." The human shook his head, his voice iron. "We do not run. We fight for her, for the child." He pulled another weapon from the wall, tossing it toward her. It was smaller, built for defense. Her hands shook as she caught it, eyes wide with disbelief. "I have never held a human weapon," she whispered. The human looked at her firmly. "Then today you will, if you want your child to see tomorrow." Something shifted inside her, fear turning slowly into resolve. She held her baby close with one arm, the weapon gripped tight in the other. Her lips moved in silent prayer, but her eyes no longer looked away when the next predator forced through the crack. She aimed and fired. The blast was clumsy, but it struck, and the beast reeled back with a howl. The human allowed himself the smallest nod. "You are stronger than you think," the predator screamed louder, circling like a storm around them. The mother pressed her child close, but now her arms no longer trembled. She was afraid, yes, but she was also ready to fight, ready to protect, no matter the cost. Outside, the cries of the pack echoed. Inside, the human and the alien. Mother stood together, side by side. The baby stirred, her small hand clutching at her mother's cloak. The faintest sound escaped her lips, not a cry of pain, but a soft murmur of life. And that sound gave them both the strength to stand firm. The predators would not stop, the shadows would not retreat, but neither would they. Because now, in this fragile moment, a bond had been forged, a human and an alien mother, united not by blood, but by a single promise. The child would live *, the barricade held for now. But the ship's metal shook with every strike. The predators outside were many, their claws scratching, their growls echoing like thunder. The human knew the hull could not take this forever. They had to move. They had to escape before the beasts tore their way inside. He turned to the mother, his voice low but urgent. "We cannot stay here. The ship will not last the night. There's a place beneath the ruins, an old shelter. If we reach it, they cannot follow." The mother's eyes widened, fear and doubt mixing. "Leave the ship. Out there with them." The baby stirred weakly, a faint whimper slipping from her lips. The human glanced at her, his face set. "It is the only way. She will not survive if we wait." The mother pressed her child close, her hands trembling. But when she looked into the human's eyes, she saw no fear, only determination. She nodded, whispering, "Then take us, I will follow." The human grabbed the pack. Filling it quickly with nutrient pouches and weapons, he secured the scanner and a small lamp. Then he moved to the rear hatch, a smaller exit hidden beneath storage crates. The predators were focused on the main door, clawing and snarling there. If they moved fast, they could slip away unseen. The hatch opened with a hiss, revealing the cold night air. The ruins stretched around them, lit only by a pale moon and broken fires still smoldering in the distance. The human stepped out first, scanning the shadows, his weapon ready. Then he helped the mother climb down. Her arms wrapped tightly around the baby, they moved silently, their footsteps light on the cracked stone. Every sound felt louder than it was. Every shadow seemed alive. But the predators did not notice. They were still tearing at the ship. The human led them through narrow streets, weaving between fallen statues and shattered walls. The mother whispered softly to the baby, her voice calm despite her pounding heart. "Stay with me, little one. Stay strong. Your mother is here." Her lullaby was weak, but the child stirred faintly, as if comforted by the sound. After what felt like hours, they reached a broken plaza. At the far end, hidden behind slabs of collapsed stone, was a narrow entrance leading underground. The human pushed aside rubble, revealing the rusted door of an old shelter. "This is it," he said, his voice steady. The mother's eyes widened at the sight. Will it be safe?" "As safe as we can hope," he replied, forcing the door open with a loud screech. Inside, darkness greeted them, thick and heavy. The human switched on his lamp, the beam cutting through dust-filled air. Old metal walls lined the shelter, cracked. But still holding, it smelled of rust and abandonment. But it was a place where predators could not reach. They stepped inside, sealing the door behind them. The silence that followed was deep, broken only by the baby's soft breathing. For the first time in hours, the mother allowed herself to sink to the floor. Her body trembled with exhaustion, but relief softened her face. She kissed the baby's forehead, whispering thanks again. And again, the human set down the pack, pulling out one of the nutrient pouches. He prepared a smaller portion, this time with more care. Using a makeshift dropper, he gave the child a few drops. The baby stirred, swallowing faintly, her tiny hands twitching. The mother's eyes filled with tears as she watched. She is stronger. She is holding on. The human scanned the child again, his face tense as he read the results. The readings were still weak, but steadier than before. It was working, slowly, but it was working. Relief spread through him, though he kept his guard. They were safe. For now, but the danger had not vanished. The mother leaned against the wall, her eyes never leaving her baby. Her voice was soft, trembling but grateful. "I thought no one would come, not my people, not anyone. Yet you came, human, why?" The human sat across from her, his weapon resting at his side. He thought for a long moment before answering. Because no child should starve. No mother should beg alone. Sometimes it takes only one choice to change everything. The mother's lips trembled, her eyes shining. "You risked your life for us, when you could have walked away." The human shook his head, his voice steady. "I could not walk away, not from her, not from you." For a moment, silence filled the shelter. It was not the silence of fear, but of something new, trust. The baby stirred again, her faint cry echoing softly in the metal chamber. The mother smiled through her tears. "She will live. She must live." The human leaned back against the wall, exhaustion pulling at him, but his eyes stayed sharp, listening to the distant growls outside the ruins. The predators would not give up so easily. They would wait, they would hunt, but here, in this hidden refuge, a fragile bond had formed. The human and the alien mother sat side by side, their shadows stretching long under the lamp's glow, and between them, the baby breathed softly, her small chest rising and falling with life. It was not victory, not yet, but it was hope, and hope was enough to keep them fighting for another dawn. The underground shelter was quiet, but the silence was fragile. Every so often, a distant growl echoed from above, reminding them that predators still roamed the ruins. The alien mother sat with her baby in her arms, rocking gently, whispering soft words. The human watched them, his rifle resting across his lap, his eyes sharp despite his tired body. The child had swallowed a little more of the human's nutrient mixture. Her breathing was steadier now, her tiny fingers curling weakly against her mother's skin. Each twitch, each small sound was a victory. But the human knew it was not enough. The baby needed more food, more medicine, if she was to truly survive. The mother looked up, her voice soft but filled with worry. "She grows stronger, but she is still so weak. If the predators wait above, how will we ever leave this place?" The human's jaw tightened. "We will leave, we must. But leaving will come at a price." She frowned, confusion in her tired eyes. "What price?" He looked at her firmly, his voice steady. "The price of protection. If they find us here, if they follow, I will have to fight, and that fight may not end with me standing." Her eyes widened, fear gripping her chest. "You would give your life for us." He did not answer at first, only checked his weapon, making sure it was charged. Then he said quietly, "If it means your child will live, then yes." The mother's throat tightened, tears welling in her eyes. All her people had been taken, burned, destroyed, yet here was a human, an outsider, a stranger who spoke of sacrifice without hesitation. She pressed her forehead to her child's, whispering, "Do you hear that, little one? He would fight for you, though you are not his." The human rose, walking to the edge of the shelter, listening carefully. The growls outside had grown louder, more restless. The predators had not given up. They were searching, sniffing, waiting for weakness. He clenched his fists. If they broke in here, the mother and child would have no chance. Suddenly, the ground above shook, dust falling from the ceiling. The mother gasped, clutching her baby tighter. The human steadied himself, weapon raised. Shadows moved outside the cracks of the broken door, and low snarls filled the air. "They found us," he said, his voice like iron. The first strike came fast, claws scraping against the metal door. The second was heavier, bending the rusted frame. The mother trembled, fear flashing in her eyes. But this time, she did not only cry, she lifted the small weapon the human had given her earlier, holding it close, ready to use it. The door burst open, metal screeching as a predator forced its way inside. Its eyes glowed in the dark, its teeth bared, saliva dripping from its jaws. The human fired instantly, the blast striking true. The beast fell, its body smoking, but more followed. The shelter shook with their snarls, claws scratching as they pushed through. The human moved forward, standing as a shield between the attackers and the mother. Each blast from his rifle echoed like thunder in the small chamber. One creature fell, then another, their bodies piling near the entrance, but they kept coming, faster, hungrier. Desperate to tear through, the mother cried out, "Behind you!" The human spun just in time, striking down a smaller beast that had slipped through the shadows. Its claws grazed his arm, tearing through fabric, leaving blood behind. He gritted his teeth, ignoring the pain. There was no time for weakness, not now. The baby whimpered at the sound of battle, her faint cry rising above the chaos. The mother rocked her quickly, whispering, "Do not fear, little one, we will live, we must." Live, but her eyes never left the fight. Her weapon raised, trembling but determined, the human fought with precision. Every shot measured, every strike purposeful, but he was only one, and the beasts were many. His shoulders ached, his breath came heavy, but he did not back away. He thought of the child, of her tiny fingers gripping life, and he thought of the mother's plea, the words that had bound him to this moment. "My baby hasn't eaten for days." At last, the final predator fell, its body crashing against the others. The shelter was filled with smoke and the smell of burnt flesh. The human lowered his weapon slowly, his chest heaving. Blood dripped from the wound on his arm, his face pale, but his eyes still sharp. The mother stared at him, her lips trembling. "You fought them all for us." He gave a small, weary nod. "I told you, protection has a price. This time, I paid it in blood, but you and your child are safe." Her tears fell freely, but they were not only of fear, they were of gratitude, of awe. She bowed her head deeply, holding her child as if presenting her to him. "You are not of my people, yet you are more family than any I have known. May the stars bless you, human." The human leaned back against the wall, his body trembling from exhaustion. But when he looked at the baby, whose chest rose a little stronger now, he felt the pain was worth it. The predators were gone, at least for tonight, but their struggle was not over. This was only one battle, and battles always left scars. Still, as the baby's tiny hand reached out, brushing against his blood-stained sleeve, he allowed himself a faint smile. Whatever the cost, he would pay it again. For her life, for her mother's hope, he would never stop fighting. The shelter smelled of smoke and blood, the air heavy with silence after the storm. The floor was littered with the bodies of the predators, their claws still twitching, their eyes dim. The human stood near the doorway, his weapon lowered, his chest rising and falling with exhaustion. Blood dripped slowly from his wounded arm, staining the ground, but his eyes remained fixed on the mother and her child. The alien mother knelt on the floor, her baby pressed close to her chest. Tears rolled down her cheeks, but they were no longer only tears of fear. They were tears of relief. Of hope, she rocked her child gently, whispering songs in her native tongue. Her voice soft and trembling, the baby stirred weakly, her small chest rising with steadier breaths than before, her tiny hand curling against her mother's skin. The human leaned against the wall, tired but alert. He had fought for hours, bled for strangers, and yet he did not regret a single choice. As he looked at the fragile child, something inside him shifted. He had seen war, he had seen death, but rarely had he seen such pure innocence clinging to life. The mother looked at him, her eyes shining in the dim light. "You could have left us. You could have walked away, but you stayed. Why?" The human took a slow breath, his voice quiet but steady. "Because no one deserves to beg for their child's life, not in this universe. I could not let her die. Not when I could fight." Her lips trembled, her voice breaking. "You are not my people, but you became our shield. You gave us tomorrow. I owe you everything." The human shook his head, his gaze firm. "You owe me nothing. Protect her, raise her strong. That is all the thanks I need." The mother bowed her head deeply, pressing her forehead to the ground. Her voice quivered with emotion. "Then let me call you family, for in this dark world, you are all we have." The human's chest tightened at her words. Family, it was a word he had not heard in years, a word he had thought lost to him. But when the baby's eyes flickered open, cloudy yet alive, and her small hand reached toward him, brushing his blood-stained sleeve, he felt something awaken inside. He gently touched her tiny fingers, letting them curl around his. In that fragile grip, he felt trust, he felt belonging. The baby made a soft sound, not of hunger or pain, but of life. The mother's tears fell harder as she watched. "She accepts you. She sees you," she whispered, her voice filled with awe. The human swallowed the lump in his throat, nodding slowly. "Then I will not leave, not until she can walk, not until she can laugh. I will stand by you both." The hours passed slowly, but the danger outside faded. The predators had scattered after their pack fell. The ruins above were silent once more. The human tended his wounds with the mother's help, her hands gentle despite her own exhaustion. She whispered prayers as she worked, ancient words of blessing from her people, words he did not understand but somehow felt in the shelter. Hope grew quietly. The baby drank a little more of the nutrient drops, her tiny chest rising stronger each time. Her eyes opened wider now, faint light glowing in them. The mother smiled through her tears, whispering, "She will live, she will see the stars again." The human nodded, though his body ached. He felt something he had not felt in a long time: purpose. Not the purpose of war or orders, but of protecting life, fragile and pure. As he sat beside the mother, watching the child breathe, he realized he was no longer just a traveler. He was something more: protector, guardian, perhaps even father in a way. The mother leaned closer, her voice quiet. "In our tongue, we have a word for one who is not blood, but who becomes family. We call it Antar. It means chosen protector. You are now Antar to us." The human bowed his head, his voice low. "Then I will carry that name with honor." The baby stirred, her tiny hand reaching again for him. He let her grip his finger tightly, her warmth small but powerful. In that moment, he knew whatever battles lay ahead, whatever dangers still roamed the stars, he would not abandon them. The predators had been defeated, but the true victory was this bond, forged in blood, fear, and love. As the first light of dawn filtered faintly through the cracks of the shelter, the human rose, his rifle at his side. The mother looked up at him, her eyes tired but filled with trust. He met her gaze, his voice steady. "Rest, I will keep watch. No harm will come while I stand." The mother bowed her head, clutching her baby close, whispering softly, "You are no longer only human to us, you are family." The human stood at the entrance of the shelter, watching the ruins slowly glow under the rising sun. He felt the baby's small grip still lingering on his hand, and for the first time in many years, he allowed himself a faint smile. The war had taken much from him, but here, in the ruins, He had found something greater, not victory, not conquest, but a bond stronger than fear, a mother, a child, and a human protector, bound together by love and survival. And as the new day began, one truth echoed in his heart. He was no longer alone, and neither were they. From this day forward, they were a family,